The Wall Street crash of 1929 marked the abrupt end of a decade of prosperity, ushering in the Great Depression. Fueled by speculative trading and a belief in perpetual growth, the crash devastated economies globally. Black Tuesday, October 29, 1929, saw unprecedented market turmoil, shattering investor confidence and triggering a cascade of economic collapse. Welcome back to Compelling History. Today we'll be concluding our 4-episode series on the Roaring Twenties, with a look at the event which put an end to the decade known for its extravagance, the Wall Street crash of 1929. Make sure you're subscribed to stay tuned for our next series, and don't forget to drop a like on this video to help support the channel. The Wall Street crash of 1929 marked an abrupt end to a decade of prosperity and triggered a chain reaction that reverberated globally, ushering in the Great Depression of the 1930s. The roots of the 1929 crash extend deep into the fabric of the Roaring 1920s, with one of the primary catalysts of the crash was the proliferation of speculative trading in the stock market, fueled by easy credit and a fervent belief in perpetual upward momentum. Throughout the decade, stock prices soared to dizzying heights, driven not only by genuine economic growth but also by speculative fervor and the proliferation of margin trading, a practice whereby investors borrowed money to purchase stocks, magnifying both potential gains and losses. Moreover, the euphoria surrounding the stock market was buoyed by a widespread sense of invincibility, as many investors believed that the boom would continue indefinitely. This sentiment was epitomized by the infamous proclamation of Irving Fisher, a renowned economist of the time, who declared in the days leading up to the crash that stock prices have reached what looks like a permanently high plateau. Beneath the surface, however, warning signs were beginning to emerge. Economic fundamentals failed to justify the soaring stock prices, corporate profits stagnated, and industrial production showed signs of slowing. Additionally, income inequality was on the rise, as the benefits of economic growth disproportionately accrued to the wealthy, exacerbating social tensions and sowing the seeds of discontent. October 29, 1929, better known as Black Tuesday, marked the culmination of months of mounting unease and speculative excess. As the trading day commenced, a sense of apprehension hung heavy in the air, with many investors on edge amidst rumors of impending market turmoil. The opening bell unleashed a torrent of selling pressure, as panicked investors rushed to unload their holdings, triggering a cascade of sell orders that overwhelmed the market's capacity to absorb them. Stock prices plummeted precipitously, wiping out fortunes in a matter of hours and sending shockwaves rippling through the financial system. By the end of the trading day, the Dow Jones Industrial Average had plummeted by an unprecedented 12%, marking the single largest one-day percentage decline in history at that time. The psychological impact of the crash was profound, shattering investor confidence and precipitating a crisis of faith in the underlying stability of the financial system. In the aftermath of Black Tuesday, the United States found itself grappling with the sobering reality of economic collapse as the repercussions of the crash reverberated far beyond the confines of Wall Street, plunging the nation into the depths of the Great Depression. In the wake of the Wall Street crash of 1929, the nation found itself thrust into uncharted territory, grappling with the stark realities of economic devastation. In the days following the crash, the financial system teetered on the brink of collapse as panicked depositors rushed to withdraw their savings from banks, fearing that their funds were no longer safe amidst the turmoil engulfing the markets. This precipitated a wave of bank runs as institutions found themselves besieged by mobs of anxious depositors clamoring to secure their assets. The banking sector, already weakened by speculative excess and imprudent lending practices, buckled under the strain, with thousands of banks succumbing to insolvency and closure. The erosion of public confidence in the banking system only served to exacerbate the crisis, threatening to engulf the entire economy in a downward spiral of collapse. The ripple effects of the crash were felt acutely across the real economy, as businesses shuttered their doors, factories idled, and unemployment soared to unprecedented levels. With consumer confidence shattered and demand plummeting, industries ranging from manufacturing to agriculture found themselves mired in a deepening economic downturn. The Great Depression unleashed a tidal wave of economic dislocation as millions of Americans found themselves thrust into the ranks of the unemployed, struggling to eke out a living amidst the ravages of poverty and destitution. Red lines snaked through city streets, homelessness soared, and families faced the grim specter of eviction and foreclosure. In the wake of the crash, the chasm between the rich and the poor widened dramatically as the wealthiest individuals and corporations weathered the storm relatively unscathed, while working-class families and small businesses bore the brunt of the economic collapse. The stark disparities in wealth and opportunity laid bare by the crisis fueled a profound sense of injustice and resentment among ordinary Americans who found themselves struggling to make ends meet in the face of mounting hardship. The plight of the dispossessed found expression in a wave of mass protests and demonstrations that swept across the country. From the breadlines of urban centers to the farm fields of the heartland, citizens mobilized to demand relief from the crushing burden of poverty and unemployment. In cities like Detroit, Chicago, Washington, and New York, unemployed workers formed grassroots organizations and marched on city halls and state capitals, calling for government action to address the unfolding crisis. Following the catastrophic collapse of the stock market in 1929, the United States plunged into the depths of the Great Depression, marking one of the most devastating economic downturns in history. The repercussions of the Wall Street crash rippled across the nation and reverberated globally, triggering a domino effect of economic turmoil. By 1930, the full extent of the economic crisis became apparent as industrial production plummeted, international trade dwindled, and millions of Americans found themselves destitute and without means of livelihood. One of the critical factors exacerbating the economic downturn was the collapse of consumer confidence. With unemployment soaring and disposable incomes evaporating, consumer spending contracted sharply, further depressing demand and exacerbating deflationary pressures. The ensuing downward spiral created a vicious cycle of declining production, layoffs, and further reductions in consumer spending. The agricultural sector, already grappling with overproduction and falling commodity prices during the 1920s, faced even more significant challenges during the Great Depression. A combination of drought, soil erosion, and plummeting farm incomes pushed rural communities into abject poverty, forcing many farmers into bankruptcy and foreclosure. In response to the crisis, President Herbert Hoover's administration initially pursued a policy of limited intervention, adhering to traditional laissez-faire principles. However, the government's hands-off approach proved inadequate in stemming the tide of economic devastation. Efforts such as the Smoot-Hawley Tariff Act of 1930, intended to protect domestic industries, backfired disastrously by triggering retaliatory trade barriers and exacerbating the decline in international trade. As the early years of the Great Depression unfolded, Hoover's inability to provide effective solutions to the crisis eroded public confidence in his administration. The Hoovervilles, shanty towns named in bitter irony after the president, sprang up across the country, serving as stark reminders of the failure of government policies to alleviate suffering. The crash of 1929 acted as the catalyst for this profound economic downturn, laying bare the vulnerabilities of the financial system and exposing the shortcomings of existing economic policies. As the nation grappled with unprecedented challenges, the stage was set for a prolonged period of hardship and uncertainty that would define the course of the 1930s. The Wall Street crash of 1929 stands as a stark reminder of the perils of unchecked speculation and the fragility of financial markets. Its aftermath, the Great Depression, reshaped economies and societies, leaving a lasting impact on generations to come. Thank you so much for watching the final episode of Compelling Histories series on the Roaring Twenties. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to like and subscribe to help the channel grow. We'll be returning on March 9th with our next series on the airline which defined an industry.